In this episode of the Soloventure podcast, we're talking to Cece. She's an email strategist and copywriter who currently spends her time between Bulgaria and Portugal. Cece started freelancing in 2021 after she was laid off from a full-time 9-to-5 office job due to the pandemic, and started traveling full-time this year and has been all over Europe, including the UK, Germany, Portugal, and Bulgaria, where her husband's family resides. Now, Rhys is actually in Bulgaria right now and was able to catch up with Cece at a co-working space so they could film this episode together. We discuss a wide range of topics, including freelance platforms, the detriments of hustle culture, and the importance of having faith in the process and yourself as a new entrepreneur. Be sure to follow CC with the links provided in the show notes.
I don't even know where to start now. I forgot what I forgot what we're doing today. I don't even know what we're doing. I don't know. Well, you got some big. Yeah, go ahead.
So, I am in Sofia, not Sofia?
Yeah, Sofia.
Sofia in Bulgaria, and I'm here with Cece.
Yeah.
And the three of us, so for anyone watching, and I know there's people watching on the course as well, we all met on a copywriting course. And I'm visiting Bulgaria this week, catching up with Cece. We've literally just met 30 minutes ago. We wanted to bring Cece on to hear more about your story, where things are going, what you're doing now, everything about Cece. And we decided to stop off at the bar downstairs. So cheers.
Cheers.
Yeah, I'm very jealous. I'm sitting in a basement in Michigan, and it is 10 in the morning, and I've got a ton of alcohol in the house, but I've got too much to do today. So next time, I'll definitely. I have no problem drinking at 6 o'clock in the morning. I'll do that shit. I'll skip it for today. So you guys just met right before this, huh? You didn't know each other. I mean, obviously we all know each other a little bit, but you just actually literally ran into each other before this.
Yeah, literally. So we are south of the center.
Sure. Yeah. We are.
Yeah,
You just immediately outed me
Yeah.
in terms of how well I know this city.
Yeah. Oh well, that's what phones are for. Nobody actually memorizes that shit anymore. So you've been Cece, you've been over there for a while now, right? I know you've been traveling around because I think I talked to you last, or we were like texting. I think you were in Portugal. You made that whole rounds over there, which was a while ago. And then so how long have you been in Bulgaria now?
I arrived end of May. Yeah, like end of May. So I've been here approximately 2 weeks, maybe more. I lost track. And then prior to that, I was purely based out of Portugal since mid-January, which is when I started this whole move abroad journey. And that's where I am.
I lose track too. I've been scattered. I was scattered all over Southeast Asia, and now I couldn't even tell you where I was now. But so how long do you plan on staying there? Do you think? In Bulgaria?
So far, we've planned the summer.
Sure.
So initially, when we booked our plans, we were going to start off in Sofia, just because we were like, okay, where do we start off? Let's start off with somewhere where we know. So happens to be Bulgaria, happens to be a country where a lot of nomads are looking into because it's not in the Schengen zone, and yet at the same time it's EU, but at the same time they don't use euros. First we thought of that, and my husband, who's from here, his parents questioned our decisions. They're like, we don't understand you guys. Why do you want to come here in the winter when it sucks?
Yeah.
Their words, not mine.
Yeah.
Don't come back to me, Bulgaria. And then, so we're like, oh yeah, that's true. Why don't we go there when it's best, which is in the summer. Everywhere that's cold is best in the summer, right?
Yeah.
And then just start off wherever in the winter. So we chose Portugal because that's always been on my mind to try out, to check out. And then we did that, and it was awesome because I moved from Canada. That's where I'm from. And everyone in Lisbon was complaining about how we came at the worst time, that it's the coldest time of the year, whatever. But to Canadians, we're like, oh, this is like spring.
Yeah, no, Canadians are everywhere, man. Like we have the luxury here where we're at, where like we have Florida. Like you guys are just cold, colder. Like you'd only have so many options in the wintertime, and everywhere we travel, we run into you guys everywhere, which is awesome. I mean, you're the friendliest people on earth, so it's pretty cool. But so we'll backtrack a little bit. So how long? Like I guess just kind of take us through your writing journey. Like when did you get started? How long have you been writing? How long have you been freelancing?
Oh my God. Okay, so I've been writing, or at least pursuing copywriting in some form, or blog writing, for more than 5 years. But that, I guess, started end of 2019, beginning of 2020. So before the pandemic hit and all hell broke loose, I came to Sofia for the first time, end of 2019, for Christmas, and for, at the time I was engaged to like wedding planning. And one of my friends, who lives in Plovdiv, um, pretty much sold us on the idea that, oh, like you should move abroad, maybe consider Bulgaria, at least the EU. There's so many benefits, blah blah blah. And so that at least allowed me to look into it. I was like, okay, I want to do this. I've been in love with traveling for a while. The only thing I ever regret in life is not doing it more. Um, so in my mind, I was like, okay, I need to find a way to make it happen. And I was already somewhat aware at the time that people work remotely and they travel. This is prior to the pandemic. So in my head, I was like, okay, let's somehow make it happen. Don't know how, but the key is to go online and do it like through your computer. That was end of 2019. And so, long story short, I was pursuing a bunch of different things at the time as a side hustle. But the main thing was blog writing. And then I read in a book that, you could do SEO writing, you could do copywriting, blah, 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 as like a byproduct of building a blog, or at least that's the skill that you learn while you're building one. So in that regard, I've been doing it for a while. But if you're talking about freelancing, that didn't really kick off for me until beginning of 2021. So like a year later, after all hell broke loose and I got laid off from my full-time 9 to 5 office job, because offices were closing down, right? Because nobody could have meetings. So it's like my job wasn't relevant anymore. And then at the time, because people were getting laid off, we have something called employee insurance. And then there's also recovery benefits from the government. And they were just like handing everything out like candy because everybody, like, I guess, needed it or had a reason for it. So in my case, I was laid off eventually. It was a hard year. But after the reason why it was beginning of 2021 is I needed some time to recover and then go back into the job seeking game, right? And so when I was finally ready and I had a really awkward phone call where I found out this job I was interviewing for wasn't even a remote position, but it was on a remote job board, it just felt really awkward. And I saw a ton of people getting laid off from their jobs and just waiting for it to happen just so that they could switch careers or do something different. And I thought, wow, like I should probably do that too. And so that day when I hung up the phone with this interviewee, I spoke to this 2021. Yeah, my husband at the time. Well, he is now. And he's like, yeah, okay, I support that. Go for it. And then I struggled for like a year and did the whole trying things out on Fiverr, trying things out on Upwork, reaching out to your network, optimizing your LinkedIn profile, optimizing your resume, doing everything and not trying a little bit of everything, but nothing feeling like it was sticking. That summer, I got really busy for a couple months on Fiverr, but all that really did was, I guess, give me experience dealing with people, get a decent amount of testimonials, and yeah, that's it.
Yeah, that seems to be. That I was going to say that year seems to be like the magic timeline. I had the same experience, and I was like, I don't know what I'm doing now. I was like you. I quit my job in Florida, but same exact setup though. Like I had to because I needed money, so I sold my car, went to Mexico. So like when you're like like you with your laid off, eventually you have to figure something out. And you saw the writing on the wall too. Everybody's losing their jobs. There's not much available anymore, and it did it does take some time. And I agree with you on the Fiverr thing. We had this conversation last week. The Fiverr and Upwork, I don't know. I'm kind of neutral on them. Like I don't love them. I don't hate them either, though. That's where I made most of my money in the beginning. And you're right; it gives you like experience, and you can build a portfolio there. And it actually, in a silly way, it's like I made $10, which is not even enough for a pint here. But at least it's like at least you proved yourself you could make money doing this shit.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a little bit of a confidence boost. But yeah, no, I know exactly what you mean, and I try to tell people now too. It's like we get a lot of questions from new writers. A lot of them are also in the group with Francis there. And they're like, I'm not getting anywhere. I'm not getting anywhere. I'm like, dude, I'm telling you right now, it's going to fucking be nothing for like a year. And then all of a sudden, it's just going to start snowballing and piling on. So you just got to hang in there. But no, it's funny you had the same timeline though. So that was 2021. So we're 2 years later now, give or take. So now you were doing this in Canada. So this is before you decided to move, or did you, once you started freelancing, is that when you got more mobile, or were you still kind of stationary?
No, so I didn't actually get mobile until this year. So I guess once I decided, actually, even before I got laid off, we did make the decision like we're going to move abroad and we're going to try to figure out how to go online beginning of this year, 2023. So that was our actual deadline to go nomadic. And I feel so blessed and lucky to like not only have this vision, but easily sell it to my husband with, with very little to no effort. And like, because I can't even imagine how some people, must feel where they might all of a sudden fall in love and want to become nomadic and then realize that the person they're with doesn't have the same goals and dreams or whatever. And then it doesn't work out, unfortunately. And people have had to do that. Like I've listened to stories of pretty much digital nomad anything, right? So I wanted to recognize that first, and that was, beginning of 2020. So I feel like this has been in the works for a really long time, even though in hindsight we're like, oh yeah, 3 years, whatever, right? But 3 years felt like forever. So yeah, when it finally happened, like, yeah, I'm not exactly where I want to be in terms of business, but I hit my minimum goal, which is be a sustainable, like nomadic copywriter that can live in most cities comfortably.
Yeah. Yeah, which is a lot these days. To live comfortably anywhere is no small feat. Yeah, no, you're right about like traveling. So my girlfriend had the idea to start traveling before me, and she talked me into this, and I'm glad she did. But you're right; it's like that'll ruin a relationship right there. She doesn't watch these, so she might be listening from upstairs.
She's
but
not subscribed.
Yeah, no, she does. Yeah,
You're
no, I don't. Yeah, it's a really good
kidding me.
fucking question. Yeah. But yeah, if she decided to stay put, I'd just be like, well, fucking see ya. I'm out of here. So she won't see this. Don't worry about that. But no, you definitely do have to have that conversation with whoever you're traveling with, because again, it's not like. Fortunately, her and I were like open-minded enough to be like, yeah, let's go give it a shot. I mean, we're 43 now. We should get out and do something before we're like, I don't want to be 70 years old with a backpack on running through an airport, but no, that's awesome that he was willing to do that, or at least give it a shot. And what most people need to realize too, is you can try anything for a couple of years. I mean, there's always going to be money. There's always going to be jobs. Canada's always going to be there. It's not going anywhere, so, or wherever you decide to live, you know what I mean? So like, people just need to get it out of they have this mental block where they think they have to do whatever they're going to do for the rest of their lives. And they have to, retire at a certain age. And I was like, shit, I mean, go take 5 years, go do something completely different. And if you don't like it, guess what? You probably have another 40, 50, 60 years to live. So you can come back and be miserable at a job after that if you want to. So no, that's awesome. You guys were able to get out and do that.
So You went nomadic this year. It had
Mhm.
been 3 years in the making. What would you say was like pivotal, or if you were to simplify the kind of process to get you to the point where you felt like, cool, we can now leave, we can go travel, what would you say those kind of steps were to get you into that kind of confident position?
Mm.
No pressure.
Like, oh my god, it's so hard to pinpoint. Um, it's really hard to pinpoint, but if I were to go back, I think the biggest thing, and it goes against like human nature. It's a little. Oh my gosh, it's gonna sound like I'm gonna sound like a broken record, but a little bit of consistency and just patience over time. And it sucks because that does require faith in yourself, in the process, um, faith in the results. Because even right now, like I'll be somewhat transparent. I only have really two active clients, and that's enough for me to be stable, and that's enough for me to surpass my last full time job in half the time of working it. So that's my accomplishment.
That is the first milestone of anyone, isn't it? It's like, as long as I make more than my salary.
Yeah. It's like, and it's amazing because even though I'm not as rich as you guys, I will be one day.
Wait.
Do you see where I'm at? I'm in a fucking basement. I do have a nice chair though. This is a very expensive office chair.
We're the new rich. We're the new rich.
Yeah, that's
Depends.
exactly.
Like it's a certain level of success that I never really expected to just happen, because especially if you're from North America, like you'll naturally be really difficult on yourself. You're just used to like working so much. You're so used to, I don't know, being in this motivated environment where everyone's got to hustle and everyone's got to be like super young and super rich and all of this crap. When I came to realize, like coming here, seeing Mediterranean people live their life, but also with just having enough to feel proud about my business, proud that I'm sustainable, all of these things has brought so much joy. And people who make, like, including my colleagues and the people I work with who are like you guys, who are way more rich than me, they're like, you've already got it. Like the numbers after that are fleeting in terms of how much it adds to your happiness.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I've never been as I've never been so happy in my life. But yeah, the pivotal thing was, in order to get those two clients, I had to start working at it in the summer, and I had to cold pitch, and I had to like do my thing. I want to emphasize that I was not cold pitching like 8 to 10 to 12 hours a day like everyone expects you to do. Like, oh, if you have a full-time job, put in those hours, work 12 hours, like in total, and then you can feel good about yourself. I didn't do that. And yeah, maybe I had the luxury with a little bit of support from the government or whatever, but it was scary as hell. It's not as scary as if you were to build your freelance business on the side, right? Which I was pursuing on the side before I got laid off. It just became real when I had to make it work. But anyways, backtracking a little bit, I messaged those clients in the summer. A lot of it didn't really come into fruition until Black Friday. And then since Black Friday, after, the season slows down, that's when I finally had the time to breathe and like write faster, write better, streamline my processes, like deliver invoices on time, like make all the mistakes to the point where, okay, you're right, I got this. And in the beginning of my journey, like especially when I dove right into Black Friday and I was overwhelmed with all the work, I definitely didn't believe in my speed or my abilities, but Francis and ensured me that I would get faster, and I did. So having just faith in yourself as a human being that can learn things through immersion, like you're gonna impress yourself every day. But at the end of the day, this is a relationship building business, and that took time. So even though I messaged my newest client, in the summer, and this was like end of July, they didn't reach out to me in terms of working together until end of September, which by the way was the morning my dog died. So I was going through shit.
Christ.
And then and then we didn't actually start working together until November, like beginning of November, and I was doing flows, so straight up onboarding with brands on top of Black Friday campaigns, and I finally felt burnout for the first time in a long time.
Did it feel good?
Yeah. Not when, yeah, if it's the first time you're like, yeah, that badge of honor. It's like, nonstop, you're like, okay, I need to go to get help.
Yeah. No, you're right about the consistency though. Like, yeah, no, fucking, I'm burned out all the time now. I tell Rhys this all the time. So I'm going to touch on two things you said that are really important. When you said about having enough, I can't figure that out. I make a lot of money now, and I'm still, I will do things. I will put things off. Like we sat in Vietnam. Just give you a quick story. I love talking about me on these things. It's my chance to get on camera and tell stories. So, but we were sitting in Vietnam at a hotel for 3 months, and I was working morning and night. And I would just get on the elevator in the morning, go down to the coffee shop, and then I would get on the elevator in the afternoon and go up to the rooftop restaurant and work up there. And I really did, like, I know better, but I was doing all those things. I had that stupid, like, I need to be hustling more. I need to be working on the weekends, which I still do now. I need to, so you're right about like the threshold there to where you need to be happy, cover all the bills, be able to go out when you want, have enough food and everything. I still haven't learned that lesson. So I'm terrible at that. But the one thing that I think we're all good at, that I've seen, and we've talked to anybody who's been successful in this business, and I'm sure it applies to everything else too, is just consistency. Like you say, like you didn't have anything going on for a long time, but you just kept going. And that's another big thing that people ask, like, how do you get to whatever point you are now? I'm like, you just gotta keep doing it. Even if you feel like shit, even like 3 weeks, 4 months in, if you're reaching out to people and you don't hear back, you just have to trust that it's going to happen. So you're right about what you said about having faith and having faith in yourself too. Because another thing we learn after you get into this for a while is that nobody knows what they're doing anyway. We're all just making this shit up every day. I'm winging it every day. Like I'll get a client and I'm like, yeah, I can do that. And then I'll be like, as soon as I get off the call, I'm like, how do I, set this up or whatever, just flow or campaign or whatever it is. So but yeah, just having the faith in yourself is like super important, which is really hard. Like it's easy for us to sit here and say that now because we've broken the barrier, like we've made it through that. So I know now if somebody calls me and they're like, hey, we need you to do a pitch deck or something, I'm like, sure. And I'm like, oh fuck, Chat GPT, how do I write a pitch deck? Because we know we can figure it out. We've been there. But no, having the faith is and not overworking yourself. But it is kind of cool to say that you went from doing nothing for a long time to being burned out on something. It is like a badge of honor, kind of. Like, I'm so tired now. Like I didn't have any work a year ago. Now I'm fucking exhausted. So that's pretty cool.
On that, you mentioned coming from Canada / North America, very hustle focused. Everyone's young, competitive, burning out a lot, I imagine. And you said specifically Mediterranean experience. Kind of, touch on that a little bit more if possible, because it is, I think, in the UK as well, definitely North America, many other places in the world, it's a bubble in the sense of like, cool, this is life. It's like hustle, 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 hustle. And I don't mean like the really stereotypical 9 to 5 for 40 years, because actually that's quite rare now anyway, working for one company for that long. But there's still very much a hustle culture, long hours. Tell us a little bit more about transitioning, or at least coming from that, seeing like, for example, the Mediterranean way of life.
Whenever I left the house,
which is how often?
It was like half the week, and the other half of the week, or a couple days a week, I'd go to the co-working space. So it forced me to leave the house. I would very much noticed like patio culture. Even in Lisbon, it exists regardless of the temperature, and it doesn't get that cold anyway, so it makes sense. And it was just such a pleasure to see people just like taking a long lunch, living slow. And for a moment, I thought you cornered me with that question. I'm like, oh my God, it's the North American opinion about Mediterranean Europeans.
No,
I'm not gonna get into that, but
we can go in. We can go there. If you like.
Do you have olive gardens in Canada? We've got an olive garden down the street. That's
That is,
Mediterranean, right?
like stereotypical and edgy as we want. I know, especially since I came from a place where it's very PC. So yeah, no, I can see how like a lot of Uber drivers and maybe other immigrants would maybe complain or notice how people don't want to work, et cetera, in these specific cultures, not to name. But
Yeah,
for
we're
me,
definitely editing this out.
yeah, just edit that out. But like, I felt like you see it, but at the same time, I felt like it was just a reminder for me that it's okay to slow down and enjoy life. And when you do meet like young people, a lot of them are hardworking. So it's just the problem is you don't meet a lot of young people where I was, because a lot of them just end up moving to the UK and other places to work really hard. So I find in a lot of these countries, it's just a matter of staffing to defend them. Other than that, yeah, like it is kind of nice to stop and smell the roses and see everybody doing that. And that is a value. When prior to, I guess, like that summer where I hustled and cold pitched and did whatever to build my business, I was honeymooning in Spain, and I met these really awesome people who were local Spaniards, but they, were super hospitable, and it was amazing. And they were entrepreneurs, so I guess they're already a different type of breed. But the thing I noticed with them is like when we hopped on the subject of business or whatever we did for a living, it wasn't such a big deal. Like, even though these guys were entrepreneurs and doing like super cool things in marketing, we'd immediately say things like, oh yeah, oh, we're in the same industry. I do this. And they're like, oh, okay, cool. So what song do you like to listen to in Canada? And like, for me, that whole experience meeting them was incredible. But just that hearing about that interaction, because it was between my husband and this guy, just showed me that we are so much more than just our jobs. Like, we have this whole identity, and when you do take time off to enjoy life, that we forget that that's actually being productive too. Yeah. And that helps you recharge. And ever since I've traveled in general, I feel like, I have like inspiration for new ideas and new ways to live life. And I'm still coming out of it. I'm still unlearning all those North American habits, like all the voices in my head that come from those habits, like, oh, you're not working enough today, or like, oh, you're waking up too late, even though my body was like, you need to sleep. But then, so like, to actually answer your question, it's taught me that you need to, yes, you can have mastery over your body, you can have discipline over your body, but you also have to listen to it in order to get what you want from it. And that's why they say health is wealth and all this corny crap. But it's true, and I think living in Europe has taught me that, because you see people enjoying life, but you see people also having balance. Because once you are in this nomadic environment, you're not just meeting people with full-time remote jobs, you're also meeting solopreneurs, entrepreneurs, freelancers, whatever, and they're figuring out their way. So I'm really thankful for this flexibility, because it allows me to test like what's actually legit and right for me and what's not. So I can, like, I don't have anyone breathing down my back being like, okay, you need to start work at 9 a.m. I can go to the gym at 9 a.m. So
yeah, exactly. Somebody told me once that this is stupid, but I've held on to it, It's like relationships, jobs, everything you have in life is going to come and go, for good or bad or whatever. But I only have this one body and this one mind for the rest of my life. So that should be our focus, is getting enough sleep, eating well, not drinking at 8 in the morning, which I've managed to put off so far today. But
Just to clarify for everyone watching, we're in different time zones. So
it's
it's,
nighttime there.
yeah, it's like,
Almost 6 p.m.
yeah, it's 6 p.m. On a
Yeah.
Thursday.
Oh, I have no problem. I'll do it. I'll do it. It's funny that I have a friend who just moved to the UK 2 months ago, and he brought this up, like to your point about people more concerned about what we do for work. He's so used to, like, you meet somebody at a bar or wherever, it's like, hey, what's your name? What do you do? And he says, like in the UK is a lot similar to the US, but he said that a lot of people he's running into now are like, they'll ask you where you're from. Like it's a weird North American thing. Like, we ask what you do. Like, that's the most important fucking thing, is your job, So that's what it reminded me of. But
Yeah, it's I'm very much on your side when it comes to like looking at the Mediterranean culture, because I've been jumping around. I've just spent a long time in Greece. I've spent time in Spain, and like you said, it's not like do nothing, like don't work. It's like a very nice balance. And coming from London, the amount of people I see on a daily basis in London, it's like go, go, go. And for some people, that's how they want to live. Great, like fucking do that. But then you do see some people, and you're like, or are you happy? Like, because you're constantly engaged, and you're maybe not getting those periods of rest and recuperation, which ultimately, like you said, actually help the business when you do have that kind of time off.
Yeah.
I've got a week off next week. I can't wait. And if you are running your own thing, like you need to, because when you are running your own thing, it's your baby. Like you are the one that has the most control over it. Like you want it to do well. You're passionate about it. So you probably could spend 12 hours a day, even if maybe you could spend 3 or 4 because of the nature of the work. But you want, you're kind of obsessed with it. But if you can kind of force yourself to break away, still have holidays, or a couple of days, like you said, like having a flexible schedule, so you go to the gym at 9 in the morning if that's what suits you best. That is something I found I was more comfortable doing when I was running my own thing. I don't think it was necessarily that I didn't have the opportunity to maybe request that kind of flexibility, but I knew that even when I did, I'd still feel this kind of pull / uneasiness that like, oh, I don't know, maybe I have this flexibility, but other people are in the office right now. And like, the idea of it didn't really it didn't sit well. And now being like, cool, well, I'm in control of the communication I have with my clients. I get the shit done when I want to get it done. And as long as the client's happy, that's great. It feels so much more relaxing. It's like you're in the gym at 9 a.m. being like, yeah, I'm in the gym at 9 a.m. Like, it's cool. I'm going to get to work at 11 and I'm not worried about anything because I've kind of teed everything else up. Plus, I don't have other colleagues that are like in at 9 a.m. being like, where's Rhys?
yeah. Now, the guilt thing is real. Like, we've done a really good job over the last 100 years since the Industrial Revolution or whatever to really like guilting everybody into working. Like, oh, you're working 10 hours? Well, I got to fucking stay longer than Ted over there. Like, oh, I got to come in before everybody. I got to stay later. And then you hear about somebody's working on the weekends. Like, I need to do that too, which is obviously we're all going to look back on those times and realize that was a mistake. And fortunately, some of us now are figuring that out.
Where are you now? Because you've just flown somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Me?
Yeah.
I got back from Vietnam. I was in Colorado. That's where if you remember, we tried to film the episode with G, and I had the green screen mountain background. And then last time we spoke, I was at my dad's place in the barn, and now I'm in Detroit, about a half hour outside Detroit. Now, this is where we'll spend most of the summer, and we'll take small trips from here. We've got family all over Michigan where we're at now. So, but anyway, this will look much better next time you see me. I'll have like manatees
Yeah, we
up.
need to work on that. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm in the corner of the basement right now, which is actually not too bad considering there's people outside mowing the lawn and everything else. But now I'm about a half hour outside Detroit. It's gotten better. We actually have a bridge to Canada, I think, like 15 minutes from here. I'm just not sure.
It's in the north.
Yeah. Canada's like right over there. But no, it's awesome here. They've actually done a really good job with the city, and the temperatures here. I'm terrible with Celsius, so you're gonna have to forgive me. But I think they it's probably like 20 right now. I don't know what that is Fahrenheit. It's like 65, 70 degrees Fahrenheit. So I should know this by now because I've traveled enough. I should be better with my temperatures. But we have to figure out what we're going to do this fall because I know we've talked about getting everybody together in the Spain, Portugal area, which seems to be the hot spot, or at least for now anyway. I don't think there's any super cheap place to get everybody in the same spot. So we're thinking we just kind of get a gathering.
Sorry.
Spain? What?
That's what editing's for. Don't worry.
Is it Bobby or Bobby?
Yeah, Bobby or
Bobby.
Boris. Either one.
Morris.
Bobby or Boris.
Oh, Boris.
Yeah, Bobby's his nickname.
I was like,
so-
that's such a strange. Anyway, yeah, you need to get Bobby on board.
Yeah. Just Spain.
We
And he'll
need
be
to get
on board for sure.
You, Rachel, Cece, Boris, Francis, Claudia's keen. We're gonna get massive Airbnb.
I think the reason why Francis would be keen on Portugal is because he's got his residency there, right? For
I think he's leaving, man.
he's in the States.
Yeah, he's near me now. Yeah, he's not too far from me right now.
Yeah.
We got to lock him in because, but he does have his residency in Portugal, right? I mean, and that could be, either one.
Like Portugal's good.
We could even do Bulgaria.
Well, we could get a fucking mansion here.
Yeah.
Well, I had that spot in Bansko lined up, and then we ended up having to skip it.
Oh,
I think I
yeah.
sent you the link. Now they have the Nomad Fest there too, which I think
Which I'm
is
going
next
to.
week.
Yeah.
Are you really?
They gave us free tickets
When
here.
is it?
They gave us free tickets here.
When is it?
It's next week, so the 25th of July 2nd. So they had 3 tickets, and Bobby snatched
Yeah.
Nice.
2.
See,
So
we need to get you back on after that, or you could do a live on the scene. You could walk
yes.
around and film some stuff instead. Because I'm very curious about this because, and not to sound like whatever, but I know when you have festivals, I'm wondering, is it actually a value thing? No offense to anybody who is organizing the festival that's watching this. But is it a real value thing, or is it just a bunch of fucking people on stage trying to sell themselves? I don't know. I could be wrong. I could just see a bunch of
It's
life
always
coaches
that
getting
anyway.
up. Yeah,
It's always
yeah.
that. There's
Bunch of
never
life
a
coaches.
where that's not look at me.
Yeah. So I'm really curious though,
But
because
we need to be doing ourselves at some point in the future.
yeah, no, for sure. And I'd love to go. It's always this time of year, so it's always a strange time because we're just coming back in. I can change that next year, but I'm really curious, to see if it's you'll have to check it out and report back because I want to know how cool this thing is, or if it's just a bunch of douchebags trying to get you to buy their supplements and their course.
I know how much it is, though.
How much?
I'm not paying, but apparently they're worth €250 for the whole week, but not including accommodation, obviously.
Yeah.
And it's keynote stuff in the day, typical conference, and then usually some sort of activity at night. And on the weekends they throw parties and stuff.
Ooh, I might see if I can
Cool.
fiddle all my flights around. Shit.
Well, I have that connection there still too for the lodging. I'm assuming they're probably booked up, but that's definitely something that's on the list of things to check out. So if you guys make it and let us know if it's worth it or not, so be plan it for next year. I don't know. I've seen the lineup and I've gone through all the stuff and I'm like, look, you can never go wrong networking, regardless of who's saying what and whatever the itinerary is during the day. Whether it's awesome or it's something you don't need, but you can't go wrong meeting new people and networking. I mean, that's always a positive.
Yeah, you just go to have fun and meet people. That's my only expectation.
Drink with new people. It's my plan every day.
Yeah, drink with
Pretty
me.
much, yeah. Oh yeah, we're looking at the
Rafting?
fun
rafting.
activity. I probably won't be able to go to the keynote stuff because I gotta work.
Yeah.
But, you know, the evening activity.
Oh, that's true. Yeah,
Yeah.
I forgot about.
Well,
I
and that's
forgot
okay.
about
I mean,
it's like I was like, yeah, I can do
Wait,
whatever I
no,
want.
but you booked
Yeah, I'm
next
off
week off.
next week.
Right.
yeah.
I mean, I
Yeah,
can change.
Yeah, that's something to look at. I mean, it's always there, and that's the other thing too. Like we're trying to, like when we say we're going to gather everybody, it's not going to be a formal thing. We just figure we all have to be somewhere on the planet, right? So why not try to be somewhere at the same time? And we've all got our own jobs and shit that we're working on. But just imagine the creativity or terrible things that could happen if we're all together. I don't know. I mean, it could go either way.
Yeah,
could
I
end up in
mean,
prison cell somewhere. I don't know. But we
it's
could try.
it's I think it's like it's an informal gathering that isn't a fucking £2,000 for a week to live with other digital nomads. It's like cool, we all have a bit of a connection. We don't know each other that well, but we know each other enough to like the idea of booking a big Airbnb, or if people want to do their own thing, cool. But being in the same location, sharing fucking ideas, like without there being this huge price tag against, because you look at some of these things and they're like, I'm like, cool, it's amazing. It's like a 4-day trip, and they're like, yeah, it's $3,000. And I'm like really? Like, I feel like, yeah, it's a lot for what it is.
Yeah, there's a lot of them that are robbery. I'm trying to plan out the rest of the year, and look, I'll pay the money to go to something that I think is worth it, but I know how these things go. So I think having like an informal get together with people that actually are in like, because we want each other to be successful. Like we could work on projects together, and who knows, we could end up working a bunch of things where we're all making money at the same time. So going to some formal thing where it's just people preaching at you from stage, again, I could be wrong, but that's what I'm guessing, trying to sell themselves is not really of much interest to me. But getting a group together where we're like, we could brainstorm ideas and who knows, come up with
I
ideas. I
think
think that's the way to go.
like I think it could be like super authentic, especially if, and there will be people that are specialists in different areas. Like I don't fucking mind standing up with the whiteboard and taking people through a certain area, like without a £2,000 price tag.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Cool. So it's been 3 years coming. You've started traveling this year. You're in Bulgaria now. What does the rest of the year look like?
Okay, so the rest of the year will be based in Europe still. We've got the rest of summer and the beginning of fall to be based out of Varna, Bulgaria. And so that'll be nice because it's, summer and I'm starting
Beach
to
town, right?
the sea. Yeah, because in Sofia it's all mountains, which is gorgeous, by the way. Come here. But I am starting to miss that Mediterranean summer vibe, which you guys had in Cyprus. And so that's the goal. And then in the fall, really the goal is to try living somewhere where we could see ourselves living. I mean, that's kind of part of Portugal, like the reason why we chose Portugal. But even though we loved it, it didn't, stop us we weren't just like, okay, we're here. This is our home now. Don't get me wrong. We made so many friends in Lisbon and it's great that we have a base there now. But I still want to check out Spain just because I feel like it's got some similarities, not saying it's the same thing, some similarities, but other boxes that seem to check for me, if that makes sense. So we'll try that out. And then Christmas we'll be back here just to be with family and friends. And then next year I want to do Southeast Asia and I want to do Asia. Just like right when everybody goes to Europe, then I go to Asia, right? So that's my goal. Like I want to do a year in Asia, especially because eventually after that I will want to pick a place to build roots and like maybe buy a house and do the whole have children thing, but still traveling and still being nomadic and all of that. But just, having a base, especially one that is within the EU because it's close to my in-laws. And that would be the plan afterwards. So I really want to do like Asia just because like I need to get it out of my system, man. Like I need to go see Asia. I need to go see like China. I need to go see. I need to go back to Indonesia, which is where I was originally born, and brush up on my Indonesian. Everyone's like Bali, Bali. Even this hotel that we're in has a connection to Bali, and I'm like, dude, I'm Indonesian. I can like understand, so I should get better at speaking, and just all of these things. So yeah, that's my plan. The way I see it now is like, even if I do, start a family, have a home base, all of that, I feel like whatever the norm looks like for people is beginning to change. I don't believe in the American dream anymore. There's definitely the whole concept of the new rich, and I have a vision for myself, and I just feel like traveling's not going to stop. Being nomadic to an extent it'll just change. It not necessarily will stop. I see a future where people will have more, options and more different ways of living, because even right now we're living in a way that our own parents can't even comprehend.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like explaining this to my parents the week before I left, because telling them a year prior didn't stick, was like very difficult for my mother to understand. But my dad was chill. Yeah, very alien to them. So my point is like, don't be surprised when, the next generation, or in 10 years, like the way that we're living is just unimaginable, just because we are so resilient. With that being said, my digital nomad tip is, if you're going to have a home base, for someone at my age, I would say 3 months is a good minimum, because it's freaking exhausting.
Yeah. You don't realize it until you've like thrown your bags on the floor in the kind of final place, and you're like, Jesus, like it's been like 3 weeks of like here. And
Yeah. We have that rule too.
Don't. I would get stable enough before you start hopping.
Yeah.
Like pick somewhere, like Cece says, for a couple of months at least, as you're building. And then going back to the kind of parents' opinion situation, like you can tell your parents your plan, but the best thing is to show them the results. So like give them an idea of the plan, but go hard on getting the results and actually achieving the goals you've set. And that's the best convincing you can do with any kind of family member.
I mean, sometimes that's not even enough. So just do it.
I mean, it also doesn't matter. But if you are worried about it, like that's one of the best ways. Like once you show them the results, and they're like, okay, well, fair enough.
Yeah, but results can look like just doing it and not crashing and burning.
Yeah. The bar's pretty low, so it's as long as you survive and you come back and you're not missing any fingers or anything, it's not that hard to pull off.
Not good for a copywriter.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No shit. I didn't think about that. Yeah. No, I love Bali. We were there for 2 months. We bounced around to all the little islands in Indonesia there. It's like the friendliest place I've ever been, and the best food. And I know it's cliche, everybody says that, but it really was truly like the happiest place I've been in a long time. The only thing I didn't care for, which is nothing I can do about, is the time change from the clients I had. But again, I could always get better clients. But no, if you do go there, it's amazing. I think the immigration is a little screwy. Hopefully it'll change by then. We had to go check in a couple of times. But one of the best parts about Southeast Asia, it's not the Schengen situation. So, you go to Indonesia for a couple of months, then you can hit up, like we went to Kuala Lumpur, which is like a big city. It's like Manhattan there. It's like New York, and then we went over to Vietnam. You could do Thailand. So there's a lot less pressure. Like you don't have to think about where you're going and when with the visas. And they're all super close. I think they're flights, but it was like an hour flight between each one. So now you'll really enjoy that when you get a chance to go.
Here's a question. You can add it or cut it. Top 2, the both of you, top 2 ways that working online and like traveling has improved your quality of life. Go.
Time. So being in control of my schedule and also knowing, cool, I need to do this work this week or this work today, doing it when I'm most focused, productive. For me, that's the morning, means I'm able to squeeze out more free time. And that free time, like I'll go and do activities, gym, walking, that gives me a lot of headspace, and that helps me focus better when I need to. But it also allows me to, apologies for the corporate speak, but zoom out and have a really good idea of, like, cool, next 12 months, what are the projects I have going on, business related? Where does that put me in 6 months, 12 months? What are the little things I need to tweak here and there? That's been super, super helpful. And two things. You go next, and I'll think of my next one.
Yeah, I mean, I was just going to expand on what you said, but just the time. So, for example, like we all have different rhythms in our days. So, like you said, if I'm ready to go to the gym, like after this, for example, I can do that. Back in my cubicle job, everything was like set at certain times a day. You have to eat lunch at a certain time of day. I mean, everything is like, it's completely regimented. Now, I could, like, this happens frequently actually. About 8 o'clock at night, I all of a sudden feel creative again and I can go write, and I can do that. Whereas before I'm stuck in this goddamn little box and I have to get so much accomplished by 5 o'clock. But after I eat lunch, I don't feel like doing anything. I know these sound like minor points, but really just being able to tailor your day to your own rhythms and do things when you want. Like, I'm way more productive now if I could eat, like, I fast all morning, then I eat lunch, and then I go take a nap, and then I wake up, and then I'm productive till late into the evening. So if I could, anything else aside, it's just being able to literally do what I want when I want, but that also, it turns into increased productivity. So it's awesome.
Yeah, 100%. Second one, freedom, not necessarily location or time, but actually business project. I'm not on a salary. I'm not working for one person. I've got multiple businesses in the works. Like, I'm able to do that and create multiple income streams, different specialisms, completely new stuff. Like, that flexibility, extremely nice, both on the income side, because your ceiling is kind of demolished, it doesn't exist to a degree. And also fun, enjoyment. It's like, instead of kind of being narrowed into one particular skill or business, that you can have multiple.
No, yeah, and when things are your responsibility solely, it's exhilarating. It's also fucking scary. But yeah, you're not working for somebody else's product. No, I the whole, and again, you could be a freelance worker and not have the luxury of the schedules we have, but just that control, and I talk about this daily, like, hey, what about this idea? And then it sounds really good. And then the next day we're like, man, that was fucking stupid. We're not going to do that. But we could do that. We could literally, and the way the world's set up now, we're all obviously connected with the internet. That's only getting better. We could decide to open a business that sells tomatoes somewhere, and we could be online, have that business registered, and have a business bank account and a website up in 2 days. And then 3 weeks later, we could say that was a stupid idea, and we could just get rid of it. So that freedom too is really super important, and it makes a big difference. And it's exciting too. It keeps things exciting. We're not doing the same shit for 30 or 40 years. Like, we can 3 years from now, we could be doing something completely different, and it keeps everything fresh.
And why not? Because we're fucking marketers. Like, it's our job to position products and services in a way that makes people buy them, puts them in the right place, speaks to them in the right way, converts them. Like, we're literally, like, that's so much of a business, especially online, especially if we're working with e-commerce. Don't get me wrong, there's product fulfillment, there are other aspects, but it's so pivotal. It's like, cool, well, why wouldn't you use all the skills you're building and think, well, yeah, cool, do you know what? I'm going to nail this for a couple of years. And maybe the next step is I'm actually going to launch my own e-commerce brand, because even if you're not going to be doing the copywriting yourself, you know the standard you need, you know what it's going to, what to assess someone who's going to do it for you. You're in a really good position, and like you said, it's fun. It's like, cool, you now have the freedom to play around with ideas and test things.
Yeah, no, you made a good point about marketing too. Is like,
We got asked a question.
Oh my god.
yeah, I know. It's the first one I can put on the spot.
Can't start a podcast. I think I know what's going on here. Next week
Soloventure
we're going to be
gave me
like, yes,
These guys gave me the idea.
it's going to be Cece Venture next week. We're like,
Well, she's got to do a live report from the Nomad Fest anyway, so she might as well get used to asking questions of drunk
Your
people.
correspondent.
Yeah. Marketing is like the catch-all job, man. Like if you can talk to people, tell a story, sell something, because let's be honest, like the accounting, like the other things you'd have to do to have a business, like even learning how to set one up, there's fucking software for that now. But being able to interact with people, there's AI for that now. Like
we had to use the word once at least on this podcast.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But if I was like setting up a business 30 years ago, I'd be like, oh shit, I don't know anything about accounting. I don't know anything about you name it. Now it's like, I don't have to know any of that shit. QuickBooks does everything. It does payroll. You know what I mean? Like all those components that people go to business school for, unfortunately still, and they learn all these things. Really, it just comes down to what we're doing now, just being able to shift gears constantly and talk to people and, brainstorm here and there. So
I noticed last happy hour hangout in our hotel, since everyone here is a nomad, that it's a really common follow-up question to be like, oh, what do you do for a living or for work? You say, do you own your business? Or are you self-employed or something? Like it's really nice to hear that, just because that was the minority. Like now I'm in a world where I'm surrounded by them, like people like us, but back home in Vancouver, it was the minority. And then on top of that, to find like women like that was also rare.
Yeah.
So just to hear that follow-up question, I'm like, what? That's awesome. To be in an environment like that. We might all be broke business owners, but we're still business owners, which already, like, just living this life, we have already access to different types of opportunities. So there's definitely like a mindset there. I will say, however, that was not the case when I was in Lisbon, but for some reason here. I think the reason why here is because a lot of business owners come here for the tax benefits. It's only 10%.
Yeah, I've heard this.
In Bulgaria. So maybe that's why.
makes sense. Yeah, it's awesome. Well, here we go again, trying to figure out how to end one of these.
Yeah.
Cool. Thanks for listening. Enjoy happy hour.
Everybody,
You're going to have to work all day.
I'm going to go hit the gym and, wander on the treadmill of the Stairmaster for a while.